What have I learned in 5 years of playing Forge of Empires? Hello, YouTubers. Ted here in beautiful Côte St. Luc, Canada. This is New Year's Eve, or the day of New Year's Eve, 2023. And in this video, I just wanted to take some time to reflect on my experience in Forge of Empires. I've been playing the game for approximately 5 years. I think it's about 5.5, really. Although there's been some breaks here and there where I took some time off. In particular, I recently, just maybe only for the holidays, came back to the game after not having played since September. I was very busy at work and didn't want to take the time to play every day. And I had been running 3 worlds, which takes some time. So anyway, I hadn't been playing. I decided to hop back on for the holidays. I'm having a lot of fun, as it turns out. I've joined a new guild. Guild is called 222. I don't know where it shows that. Does it show it here? Yeah, Guild 222. You can see my message here that I'm on break or possible break. Anyway, so even as I make this video, I'm not 100% sure if I'm going to keep playing or go back to being on pause. The Guild 222 is an awful lot of fun, and so I'm considering staying. Anyway, what I wanted to do, like I said, is just reflect on some of my experiences, my thoughts from 5 years of playing this game. As I go over those thoughts, I'm going to just try to do some stuff on the screen to keep you entertained, but it's not really going to have much to do with what I'm saying. So I can start by doing my daily harvest here. There we go. Got lots of stuff. And I think this one is ready to level, so we'll do that straight away. Okay. And we have a bunch of forge points that we can spend somewhere. There's different choices. I could put it into one of these. Maybe I should start leveling this one. I want to get him up to level 10. One of the reasons, too, that I'm considering continuing playing at least for a bit is I feel like I have some unfinished business here. I haven't even got these Titan Age great buildings up to level 10. And I didn't even finish the tech tree. Okay, so there's still a ways to go there. So in any case, let me, as I just go through the mechanics of doing some things here, let me say what my thoughts are. I have them written down to keep me on track. Of course, the most fundamental thought is just that it's been extremely interesting playing a game for so long. I've never played one game like this for so long, as far as I can remember. Back in my youth, I played Dungeons and Dragons. Dungeons and Dragons, you might play a series of campaigns with the same characters over the course of possibly years or something. I'm not too sure, but I always like to create new characters, I think somewhat to the annoyance of my friends, because I like the design process and so on, and drawing the characters and thinking about their personalities and so on. Anyway, that's a bit of an aside. Maybe I played Dungeons and Dragons for some years in a row. I mean, I definitely played for some years in a row, but whether I played the same characters in a sort of coherent campaign series, I don't know. I kind of think not, actually. Anyway, of course, there's many other games that I've played over the years. The longest running games, I think the longest running game I played on the computer was Weapons Throwing RPG and Weapons Throwing RPG 2. These games, which I made YouTube videos about, I probably played over a course of maybe half a year or maybe a year. Now, these are very simple games compared to Forge of Empires. And they're very much grinding games, a subject I'll come back to. But that's another example of a game that I played for a while. But again, nothing on the order of playing the same game for 5 years. When you play a game for 5 years, you can almost mark your life by it to some extent. Not totally, but in the same way that you might remember back to, oh, when I got that bike as a kid, or that summer when I went to camp, or whatever it is, I can think of this game and I can think back, oh, remember when I was just starting out and I had such a small city and I had no great buildings, and I didn't even know that you could negotiate in the guild expedition and stuff like this. Or I can remember back to when I was slogging through Oceanic Future era, this really, really long era. If you're a player of the game, you'll know. Or things like this. Or when I started the Ark. The Ark is seems like such a long project when you're getting started. To get an Ark up to the sort of standard level 80, or even the semi-standard level 60, is an effort. Well, when I was doing it, back some years ago, about 4 years ago, I guess, or 4.5, whatever it was an effort of nearly a year of almost total focus to get that great building up to level 80. I think you can do it much faster these days because of various reasons that I'll get to. Special event buildings and other things that are so powerful. But it's a big choice to decide to set out on that year-long task. Now, of course, today we have these, if you're in Titan era, or if you've got the blueprints somehow, we have these great buildings which require so many forge points and so many goods to get up levels that it's probably the effort of multiple years to get up to, say, level 60 or 80 for most people. And actually, that was one of the things that a little bit discouraged me from continuing playing the game back in September, because, this new age came out, Titan, new powerful things, and then you see how much work it's going to be. And it's just like, do I want to be focusing on this for the next 2 or 3 years? It's a bit much. Anyway, so that long running aspect of the game has just been really fascinating for me. It's the only time I've played a game, like I say, that lasts so long. It's been a really unique experience in my life. I don't know if I'll ever play another game again for so long. And I'm curious if other people have had similar experience. So what else can I do here? I'm going to do Guild Expedition in a little bit, but let me do a bit of PvP. So another comment. Oh, these are all pretty tough. Maybe I'll refresh. I could probably beat this guy with a little bit of losses. Yeah, not much losses. Another interesting thing that I've observed or learned is how your strategy changes over time. Your expectations change and your strategy changes. And part of that is just because you're learning the game, but not totally. For example, I'll give you some examples of how my attitude towards the game changed and my goals toward the game changed, which resulted in strategy change. So when I first started playing the game, I was really interested in advancing through the levels. I saw the tech tree. I'm a scientist in real life, so I like technology, and I wanted to advance through the tech tree. And I was looking at the great buildings and how many forge points they took, and how many and how many what benefits they gave. And I was just thinking, these great buildings don't make sense. Like if you look at something like Notre Dame Cathedral, which gives you, I think, coins or something like this. I never built it, so I don't even remember that well. But you would look at something like that and you could think, okay, I could spend at that time maybe a month getting this great building up to level 10, and then I'd have some coins, again, unless I'm misremembering. Or I could just advance on the tech tree in that month and get get some ordinary houses that would give me the same amount of gold. So it really didn't make sense. And so for the first, when I was playing the game initially for the first few months, I basically couldn't conceive of even wanting to build great buildings at all. Uh, and later it became clear. So maybe I really don't remember. Was it 6 months? Was it a year? I have some vague records that I've kept, and I could check back, but I don't know. Who really cares? Um, I I started to realize that, oh yeah, there are some great buildings that can give me things that make them worthwhile. I think possibly the first, of course, you're forced to build the oracle by the game mechanics, but I think the first thing that I built was the lighthouse, because I noticed the lighthouse gives you a percentage boost of supply collection, and I calculated that by building this lighthouse and putting a little bit of forge points effort into it, I can so greatly increase my supplies collection that I can save a lot of space in my city, and by saving that space I can build other buildings that'll help me advance and so on like this. And so that's how it began. Another major strategy change, and I don't know if maybe I should get to sort of running out of things I can do here while I talk. Here. Another thing, you can see I also haven't quite finished the map. Let's do some fights here. Another thing that changed about my strategy was goods versus fighting, negotiating versus fighting. So at the beginning, I loved the concept of the game, and I've said this in other videos. I love the concept of the game that there's two ways of doing almost everything by sort of peaceful economic means versus fighting means. And so at the start, I was very interested in taking this goods route. I like the idea of having a city with a strong economy and with proceeding through the game peacefully. And so I did that for quite some while, maybe the first 2 or 3 years. I'm again pretty vague on the details, but at a certain point, I started basically, I think it was basically when Guild Battlegrounds was introduced, and I'm going to come back to that subject in a second, which is so much easier by fighting than by negotiating, that I started to develop the fighting side of my city. So now I have a more balanced city that has fighting capability as well as goods production and ability. That in fact brings me to a third major reflection that I'd like to make about Forge of Empires, something that makes it so interesting to me, which is the fact that periodically, every year or so maybe, some new game feature is introduced, and that game feature can sometimes fairly dramatically change the game. So again, Guild Battlegrounds is one obvious example. I can't show it to you because I joined 222 Guild at the wrong time, and I'm not part of Guild Battlegrounds this season. But this gave the opportunity to fight so many battles. Or you could do so many negotiations, but that costs a ton of goods, and most people don't have those goods. So most people fight, and Guild Battlegrounds really increased the emphasis of the game on fighting. Now, many people were fighting focused already anyway, so it wasn't a big deal for them. It was a big deal for me because I was goods focused, and I actually think that the game lost some important balance when Battlegrounds was introduced, because it made the fighting approach to the game so much more powerful than the guild goods, sort of economy negotiating side of the game. That's just one example. Another recent example, which I can show you now, is the Guild Expedition, level 5. So So in level 5, again, Guild Expedition, you can negotiate your way through, and you can fight your way through. And when there was 4 levels of Guild Expedition, at first I was just negotiating my way all the way through. So I had to shape my city to generate a lot of goods. But then when I increased the fighting power of my city, it just became so much easier to fight. Partly because you barely lose anything if you're strong enough. You barely lose any troops. And for another thing, you can just click on auto battle very quickly, and it's really quick versus doing the negotiation where you click on everything, all the goods. I'll show you that in a second. When they introduced Guild Expedition level 5, you still have the option of fighting or negotiating, but you have to fight with your city defense army, not with your attack army. And many people, and especially including me, have a much weaker city defense army because there's really not much point in the game in having a city defense army. So my city defense army is super weak, and the amount of bonuses you need to compete against these troops are, fairly high. So suddenly, again, fighting became difficult. And I've been negotiating my way through Guild Expedition 5, which I will show you now. I've shown it in some other video too. But I'm going to go here first to get myself an extra... here, sorry. I'm sort of out of practice with this. Here we go. So that'll give me an extra negotiating turn. And so I, again, sort of revamped my city to try to, and it's not hard to negotiate. It's kind of hard to negotiate, but it takes a lot of goods. So again, the game changed. The change in the game features and the rules of the game force you to adapt your strategy if you want to be competitive. And that's really interesting. How many other games can you see that kind of feature? Like, if you play chess or something, the rules of chess stay the same. Maybe people improve strategies or something like that, but the rules don't change. Or if you play poker, the rules of poker don't change. Oops. So, you can get better and better at poker. You don't have to worry about the game changing. But one of the really fascinating aspects of Forge of Empires is how they do change in some significant way the game about every year. That really forces you to adapt. So my initial response has been to increase again the goods capacity of my city. Other people have started strengthening their city defense army, and I'm considering doing that myself too, and I haven't decided entirely. Of course, as I explained earlier, I haven't decided entirely if I'm really going to keep playing past the holidays or not. And there's other examples. The addition of the cultural settlements. Just going to get some tea here. The addition of the cultural settlements feature somewhat changed the game, although not radically, because those cultural settlements, it gives you some buildings that were nice once upon a time. Now they're kind of not much better than the special event buildings you can get. And I don't know if newer players who haven't already been through the cultural settlements would even bother to play them much. And maybe that's part of why they introduced the Flying Island, to give you rewards for being engaged in cultural settlements. So anyway, that was my just third major observation or thing that I learned about the game. Thing that interested me about the game is the way that the rules or the mechanics or some feature of the game changes substantially every now and again. That really forces you to adopt your play strategy and develop your city in a different direction. And especially when you consider that some of the city development decisions you make, like choosing to build the ark, say, early on, or whatever, some of these decisions you're sort of committing to a year-long or possibly longer enterprise. And when the game changes on the same time scale, well, it's just pretty interesting. All right, what else do I have to comment about here? Right. So the social aspect of the game, I'll comment on that. I mean, there's a lot of great people on this game. Almost everybody is pretty friendly and helpful and cooperative. Even sometimes if you're in different guilds, in some sense, different players are pitted against each other in a global ranking. In some sense, guilds are pitted against each other in a global ranking, as well as in features like guild versus guild and guild battlegrounds. But still, generally speaking, people are pretty helpful, pretty friendly, pretty nice on this thing. I've made some quote friends on here, although I will say the flip side of that is that, it's fun to talk to people on the message threads and the social thread and whatever it is. And you learn a little bit about different people, like where they live and what they do or something like that. But it's nice, it's nice to have people that you're sort of in contact with all around the world. But it's also a little bit shallow socially. I mean, I don't know what anybody looks like, for example. I couldn't actually contact anybody outside the game if I wanted to. I can't call up one of my Forge friends and ask them to help me move a couch or something like this. So it's fun. It's nice socially, although it's limited, but it's nice. There's one thing I would like actually to see in the game, or see just developed by players or supported by a guild, would be a way of being more directly interactive. So what am I doing here now? Oh, sorry, this has to go here. I'm confusing myself. This has to go here. And this has to go here. And then that makes this. Okay. What I'd like is if I could be playing Forge of Empires and be on voice chat or video chat with other people in my guild, chatting away, seeing them, talking to them, and making the social aspect of it sort of more personal. That would be nice. On the general subject of people being helpful, the other thing I'll say that's really impressed me about the Forge of Empires community is all the people who put effort into sharing their knowledge and helping other players, not directly in the game, but outside of, or sort of in parallel with the game. What do I mean by that? For example, software tools like FOE Helper and FOE Tools that help people calculate donations to great buildings or things like this. The YouTubers who put out videos talking about coming features and strategies and develop these spreadsheets and sophisticated analysis to help you know how best to play an event. I'm burning through a lot of diamonds here, but that's okay. So gosh, I don't remember all their names because now for 3 months I've not been playing and I'm sort of off of watching YouTube Forge videos. But FOE Elite and FOE Hints and Uber Nerd 15 or something like this. Sorry if I'm getting your name wrong. I apologize. So this support structure and fandom. I mean, the fandom wiki pages where you can read all the details of different things. It's terrific. People put a lot of effort in outside of the game too to help the players and support the community, and that's terrific. And some of these things are really done so well. You know, like the fandom wiki and some of these YouTubers that put out professional quality videos that are really amazing. I mean, it's so impressive. My videos are long, rambling chats where maybe I have a vague outline in mind before I start. I mean, it's pretty unimpressive, I have to say, although I enjoy doing it. So that's all great. I think one of the other challenges of the game, if I want to talk about, sorry, let me focus here on a second on getting this right, this and that, and maybe this. That's one way it could be. Oh, no, it's not. I did something wrong. You know, one of the other, I would say, mild drawbacks or complaints I have about the game is the grind. You know, the game starts off with a lot of quick action. You're getting new technologies, you're collecting from supply buildings that pay off very quickly. And then as you advance through ages and so on, and things get slower and slower, progress gets slower. And, you know, as I was mentioning earlier, the Titan great buildings, which take so long to get up to high levels, it was a bit disheartening, frankly. And, you know, the game is just can start to be just a bit of a grind and less fun. You know, this sort of less daily strategy that you have to think about and optimize. I've some number of my friends have quit the game because they say it just becomes too much of a grind and it's not fun anymore. And that was partly why I took time off, although also because I was just very busy with work. So there's the end of Guild Expedition Level 5. Bing. I'll see how we're doing in a second. Collect my things here. And maybe this is inevitable. I mean, the game designers can't provide fresh, new, stimulating material every week. I mean, how would they do that? That would be extremely labor intensive. So let's see how we're doing here. Hey, look, I'm number 1. I'm going to take a screenshot of that. I'm number 1 probably because I negotiate and I maybe flubbed some negotiations or something like this and ended up with extra points. And we've been in competition with this other guild. Oof, we've fallen behind. And there was flip-flopping back and forth. But I see we're behind now. Anyway, what else do I want to say? You know, the other main comment that I wanted to make was really just as a sort of concluding thank you comment. I want to thank InnoGames for developing this wonderful game that's entertained me for more than 5 years. I want to thank them for making that game free. I've said this to many people in real life and online. I don't fully understand how the video game community works because, in my experience, there's extremely fun games that one can play totally for free. And I've never had to watch an ad even playing Forge of Empires. Never had to pay a cent. That's wonderful. I don't understand how they continue to function economically. I guess there's just enough people who are willing to pay for things in this game. I mean, you can certainly pay for things. They make that very clear, but it's not necessary to pay. And frankly, this is such a game of patience that I don't understand, you know, why someone would pay to get an extra building or some extra diamonds or some extra this or that, because, you know, whatever you do, the game is still going to be there with years and years of future work to do. You know, you can't buy a win in this game. You can buy a little incremental bit of progress that, but again, with such a long running game. Anyway, I want to thank some of the major guilds I've been in over the years. I've been in I've been in two major guilds, really. Now, right now I'm in Guild 222, who are willing to host me for the holidays and possibly beyond. They seem like a great bunch of people, very active, very friendly. I think the guild has recently cracked the top 10. There it is, and I predict it will rise even farther. They're really, like I say, a great, very active, eager, ambitious bunch of people. In that sense, I'm not sure how well I fit in, but they're a lot of fun. Of course, this guild that I spent the most time in was Vanguard Castle. That was the guild I was in for most of the time I played, and certainly all the time that I raised up all the errors and when I built my arc and all these things. I spent a year somewhere around year 3 or 4 in, I think it was called Strange Days Guild, which at the time was the #1 guild in the in this world of Feldrangkir. I don't remember exactly how I ended up in that guild. I think I took time off, and then when I came back, I just sort of looked around a little bit and thought I'd try a top guild, which was also very interesting and stimulating. And I saw how really top players, how organized they are about guild versus guild and guild battleground and all these kind of things. And I want to thank some of the friends that I've had in this game. Now, I was a bit reluctant to name individual players because I'm sure I'm going to forget people who've been good friends for me along the way. And if I'm forgetting your name and I'm only going to name a few. The players that I was friends with for years and years and who did a lot of help for me. And I still may be forgetting something, and if so, I very much apologize. But I want to name Jinx the Cat in Vanguard Castle, who was very helpful for me all my time there. Habs Fan, also from Vanguard Castle. Pool Rev and Fishy MD, who I think I met in Strange Days. And in my main Diamond World, which is on Arvahal, I want to thank AAC251, who was extremely helpful when I was in his guild. This was maybe 4 years ago, and I was just starting in that world. I started a new world initially to explore the fighting side of the game, which I wasn't playing in my main city here, because, as I said, I was doing the the guild, the goods and negotiating thing. And I wanted to experience the fighting side of the game. So I made a sort of fighting city, and AAC251 really helped me a lot getting off the ground there and getting some of the fighting great buildings and teaching me about guild versus guild fighting and so on. That was before Battlegrounds existed, but still, he was a great help. And again, if there's other people and I'm not naming you, I apologize. I don't remember things very well necessarily. It's been a long game, a long, enjoyable game. Oh, the other thing I should have been doing all this time is I should have been cranking through this dumb thing. I'll do just a teeny bit of this. This is one of the other grind parts of the game. You do a special event, you do all the things, and you get the thing. You get in this case, stars to spend, and then you just have to boringly click through for ages and ages as you get the payoff. So anyway, I don't want to do all that because look how many times I have to click. 182 times I have to do like this, and then collect a reward and collect lights and blah blah blah. It's going to take way too long, so I won't bore you with all that. And the final people I want to thank is you, my YouTube viewers. So thank you very much for going on this journey with me. And I might play more, and I might make more videos, or I might not. I don't really know. I've largely paused my YouTube video making as well. Again, focusing on work and other creative projects, doing some fiction writing, and have some other art projects in mind that I'm doing. So anyway, that's it. That turned into a very long, rambling video. But that is the end of year 2023, and I wish you all a great 2024, wherever you are, whatever you're doing. All right? Bye-bye.